Hey, welcome back to the channel. You got the Gecko Man here. Thank you so much for joining. If this is your first time joining the channel, hey, hopefully you see something you like and you smash that like button and subscribe button. It certainly helps the channel out. But today I've got something really special. So we are going to do a little bit of the unboxing, assembly, and product review video, kind of all in one. Product review video because this is something that I've used in the past. It is a Vivarium Electronics VE-6 rack. It's this. We are going to turn it into this finished rack system. Stick around and see how. Okay, let's go ahead and open them up and see what's inside. So the short, really fat box was full of all the tubs. And I actually ordered 2 of these units. So I ordered some of the small tubs and some of the medium-sized tubs. Let's see what we got here. So it's packaged really, really well. I will give Vivarium Electronics credit. They have done an excellent job of packaging. So the first thing I see in there is a little kind of how-to guide, mostly talking about the warning of using heat tape and making sure you use a thermostat. All right, we got a lot of styrofoam. All right, so this piece here is the back. So this is the actual back of the cage. There's a little note on here about the thermostat. And then it's really kind of hard to see, but there is an A and a B. That'll make a lot more sense a little later on. So this is the back of the unit, and it has the grooves in it for the shelves. So this is the B side of the unit. So there's an A side and a B side to the unit. And guess what this one is? It is the A side to the unit. And that's everything in the first box. Okay, and here's the second box. So we're going to go ahead and open it up real quick. We're going to get all these parts out. And you know what? I have the exhaust fan on, and that's probably not going to be good for the volume of the video because I don't have my microphone on me. So let's just turn that exhaust fan off for right now. All right, so this, inside this box, once again, great packaging. Another phenomenal piece of styrofoam. This is your heat tape roll. I highly suggest leaving it just like this until you're ready to put it in, and that is one of your last steps. If you don't, it's gonna unroll and take off and you could damage it. So we'll just set it over there for safekeeping. And inside here, so this piece here has the etched wording on it. This is your top piece. So that will be like one of the last things we put together. And then each one of these is your shelf. So it's routed in here for the heat tape to go through and for the probe. And each one of these shelves look the same as the others. Except for the bottom one, which is right here. And the big difference with it is if you were going to put casters on it and you order the casters from them, the casters go right in here. I did not order casters. This one's going to be stacked right on top of another unit. So I did not order the casters. Otherwise, it is exactly the same as all the rest of the shelves. Now, you also have a nice little, let me get this box out of the way, a nice little plastic baggie in there that has all of your stuff you're going to need for assembly. So let's open it up and see what we got here. All right, so they give you a boatload of screws, and you won't necessarily use all of them. But what they also give you is the drill bit that you're going to need for using those screws. So let's talk about a couple of things real quick. I would recommend using a drill. You can use a screwdriver if you have one where you can put that bit in there, or if you have a screwdriver that's a square head. I'm just using this bolt driver with that in there, and I have my drill set to the lowest and slowest setting it is capable of. It is so easy to drill one of these little screws in and go too far. They should be just slightly recessed in there. And when I say slightly, I mean slightly. It's not like a full countersinking. You want to be able to rub like your thumb over the top of it and feel like a slight little divot in the screw beneath it. You don't want the screw to break all the way through that. So if you were to have your drill set on a high setting or powerful drill setting, you're going to easily drill right through it. And once you drill through it, you got to run the Lowe's, Menards, or somewhere like that and get these screws that are longer, and they're not really easy to find. All right, the other thing that's in there, this is your heat tape. They give you this much heat tape. You do not use all of it in one place. You're going to need to portion it out. There's actually like 3 places you're going to use it. You're going to use it on the side where the heat tape and that, top shelf where the heat tape actually runs through the back. You'll see that later. You're going to use a portion of this to tape down the cord so it doesn't get caught every time. You're going to use a portion of it over the probe so that the probe doesn't bubble up on you and is actually in the right spot and stays in the right spot. Then you're also going to use a little bit on the very bottom of the unit because the heat tape may actually come out a little bit from the bottom and you need to secure it so it's not sitting there rubbing on carpet or whatever, flooring that you may have in your house. Okay, they also give you these little rack pins. They go in the front of the rack. There's little bitty holes. So if you have an animal that could potentially push the drawer out, those rack pins will keep them in. All right. All right, so we're gonna put the back and the side together, but I wanted to point out a couple of things to you. So there's an easy way to tell the top from the bottom of the sides. So the little ridge that comes up here, this is the bottom, okay? This is gonna go into the top of the cage that's below it. So this is the actual top piece, and that little lip will sit down in this little recess right here. So the other thing is there's an A here. So this is the A panel for the side, okay? So this is the back, and how you know you've got the top and the bottom is the exact same thing. The little ridges and lips, you gotta line them up. The divots go on the top. Also, this is the back because it has this cutout right here for the heat tape. And you'll notice the A is over here. Now the other thing is you have these little tongue and groove that go in together. They don't go flat like this, they go like this, okay? So it is, I will say it is easier with a second person at this point helping you hold these together while you get a screw in. Otherwise, they're going to be flopping around. It's really kind of a challenge to do. It can be done single person, but it's definitely easier if you have a second person to hold it for you. So we're going to cut the camera right now, and we're going to come back once I get a couple of screws in this and show you what I did. Okay. So make sure you're going slow when you're drilling it in. It's not about speed, it's not about power. Okay, zoom in closer. Come look over here. Like. You see how the head is just starting to go in there? And just a smidge more. There we go, perfect. So it's just slightly recessed, and that's like perfect. Okay, so we got both sides on, and I matched up B to B, A to A. So now it's starting to look like a box. The easiest part of the assembly is coming up next. What I do is I lay it on its back, I put the bottom in first and screw it all in place, and then that will hold the rest of this together. Then I slide each one of the bottoms in and screw them in one at a time, and it just becomes more and more rigid as you get there. There are grooves. I don't know if it shows up very well, but there are grooves on right here, and you have to make sure that you match up. If you're putting this one in, you got to slide it across to here and count and make sure you match up the right groove, same level. There's a groove in the back. What I'm also going to show you is there is a little lip right here. Okay, so when you go to put one in, this lip should line up right here, and it should be flush with it. If it is not flush with it, like this, but only down here, then you don't have it in the groove all the way around. Now gravity will help you if you flip it over on its back to do that. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. This is just the way that I'm doing it. And I did it with one other, was very successful at it. It seems like I've looked online and there's a few other assembly videos for this particular rack. And it seems like everybody's kind of got their own style of doing it. There are instructions, but let's be real. I'm a guy. I don't read instructions. I probably should, but I don't. Oh well, you can decide whether you want to or not. All right, so we're back. You probably noticed I had a wardrobe change, go Cubbies. I'm just gonna level with you. We were working on this like 3 days ago, and it was getting pretty late, and we decided to postpone it to the next morning. And life happens, and here we are like 4 days later, and we're wrapping it up. But I did make a little bit of progress in between filming that last video and where we are now. I got all of the inner pieces put in, except for the top piece. There's a reason for that. The next step is to put the heat tape in. And to be honest with you, this is probably the biggest pain in the butt step there is. Because I've seen people do it wrong, I don't know how many times. If you go and look online, you're gonna see heat tape sticking out on the side here. You should not see the heat tape on the outside of the unit. There is, let me see that real quick. There is grooves that are here and down here, and I don't know, maybe you can see it better on this one, down here. So the heat tape is going to run through this groove down into the next level, and then you have to run it out of the side all the way out and then back down into that groove to get it down in there. And then you have to do the same thing at the next level. So it's a lot of weaving it back in and out, in and out, in and out. I'm going to show you a couple of levels here how to do it, but I'm also going to explain one other thing to you. There's also this hole right back here. And, you know, in the earlier part of the video, you couldn't really see the B's and the A's, but we've got those all lined up together. So this hole right here and that little slot that you see is where your cable, where your plug for the heat tape is going to go out. It exits out the back of the unit right here. And then you also have these holes that are all the way down the bottom for you to be able to put a probe in to use with your thermostat. Now, I got the Vivarium Electronics VE-300X2. This one is capable of doing 2 units. This is a unit that I finished the other day. And I'll also show you, I'll pull it out and show you. This is what a unit should look like. You can see the heat tape in there, but you see it is not coming out those holes. If and when you run it correctly, you run that heat tape correctly, that's what you're actually going to see. If you don't see that, if you see heat tape running on the outside from this hole to this hole, then yeah, you didn't do it right. So give me a second. I'm gonna get the heat tape stretched out and probably go ahead and through that hole and get it started through this hole, and then I'll get back with you guys. Ready? Okay, so I've already, if you come over here, hon, I've already ran the cable through the back hole, and I've ran the heat tape through this hole the first time, okay? Pulled it all the way through. So now what I'm gonna do, the heat tape then goes back in, and you can see there's a little channel right here, okay? If you get in really close to it, you can see there's a little groove right there. You've got to get the heat tape in there, and the heat tape goes in with the copper up. Okay, so the copper side goes up. So this is where that credit card would come in handy. All right, so you see I've placed a credit card right here that blocks the tape from going down to the next level and makes it very easy to slide into that track. Now, if you hang on to the card and you hang on to the tape, you can run it right across, and this is where the probe would go, but the tape sometimes gets caught up there, okay? So this makes it easy to get it all the way across. And then as you slide it and you're feeding the tape across, you can actually come back over to this side and put the credit card right in there. And by the way, that's a canceled credit card, so if you see the numbers, it won't work. But if you want to try to use it online, you go right ahead. It's 100% canceled because it was from my former employer, and I didn't throw it away because I wanted to use it on this. So now you see that I'm pulling the tape through, and we're just about to hit a spot here where this has got to come in. And then it's important to then, it gets a little tricky because you want to make sure that the connections do not come loose. So as you're feeding the rest of the power cable back in, don't let it, get kinked up or something to cause a problem right there, because that would be no bueno, as they say. All right, and then we're probably going to want that heat tape to actually slide back a little bit. And eventually, once we get done running the heat tape, we'll come and we'll use that's one of Gracie's hairs. we'll use some of this foil tape to actually tape the power cable to the side so it doesn't get bumped by the boxes sliding in and out. All right, so now we've got this all on one side, okay? So we need to feed it down to the next level. So what we're gonna do, and this is where the credit card would also come in handy, we're going to stick the credit card in the slot and pull the tape upwards so that, lining the credit card up so that the tape will feed back down to that slot and go down to the next level. This is where it gets a little fun. And we're going to feed a lot of it in here, and then we're going to come into the next level and find it. It's a little bit tricky. One thing you might want to consider doing is actually running it back out before you feed so much of it in. It does make it a little easier. And we're going to run it back out that hole. And it wants to go down to the next level, so you got to get your card in there to prevent that from heading down to that next level. So you seen how that popped out? And now we're pulling it back, and then it's going to go in there and it's going to make a pop. Now we're ready to actually feed it into that track. And you have to be careful not to pull it too hard because you don't want to pull it away from where you have it in the top. So we're ready to get it into that track. So we'll put our card in there and we'll start feeding it. Now you're going to notice, at least it threw me off because all the videos that I watched said that the copper had to be up. Well, I don't know of a way to get the copper to stay up when you're feeding it back through without twisting the tape. So I surmised that that cannot be done. If you know how to do it, comment below, because I certainly could not. Once again, I got it fed through, so the credit card comes in handy to slide it underneath that tape and slide it right up to that spot where it needs to slide past to get past the probe spot. And then now we can come over here to the other side and we're going to start feeding it through. And like a magic trick, it comes right on out. And if we look in there, and I know we don't have very good lighting, but if we look in there, we see that it is down in the groove, and that, there we go, now we got some light. We see that it is down the groove, but it's also come to the side, but it is not bubbled out. It's actually flat to the side. So the tub should slide in and out perfectly. So we have to continue that all the way down to the bottom. I can't see much of a reason to film all of that, so I'll be right back with you when that's done. Okay, so I got all the heat tape in. There is an issue I wasn't really excited about how it happened, but this little piece of the heat tape is actually sticking out there when it should, hopefully we can get some light, should come up right up here, right up along here and be taped. But I had to just tape the power cord there because I couldn't get the tape in and pop up the way that I needed it to go. And I did not want to damage the tape. It's one thing that I should have said. If you get a kink in the copper, that could damage the tape. And you do not want to be working with damaged heat tape. That is a major fire hazard. Just saying it. So we've got it all fed through. like it should go. And once you get it all in there, you're going to end up with a little bit sticking out on the bottom. Okay? You want to tape that down so it's not sitting there flapping around. And then you need to put the final piece in place and get your probe put in and get it all set up. So stick around and we'll show you that. So I was actually able to fix the problem that I had over here with the heat tape. So it's all in good working order at this point. So what we want to do now is put the final ledge in, which is actually the top. You know it's the top because it's got the wording on it. Vivarium Electronics VE-6. So just like with the others, you've got the grooves, and the grooves go all the way around back. So, I guess I should say they go all the way around. So you just got to slide it in and make sure that you get it all the way to the back. And your ledges here should be flush, just like they are now. And then you've got these pre-drilled holes that you're just going to go through and put the screws in. Remember, just a reminder, if you are using a power tool, have it set on the lowest setting, both power and speed. It does come with the little square bit. I think I said that earlier in the video, but just as a reminder. And you just put it in and kind of gently walk its way in the beginning, ensuring that you are not over tightening, because you want that screw to just be slightly countersunk there, just slightly. When you run your finger over it, you should feel just a little bit of a divot. You don't want it to break all the way through. All right, so we've got quite a few screws to do here. I'll go ahead and get that done, and then we'll come back and show you the probe. And then we'll be ready. So that was a little bit of an over tighten. So you can see right here, it's a little farther in than what, say, the one to the right of it is. That's a little bit of an over tighten. That's what you don't want to do. So do as I say, not as I just did. It happens. That's why you got to really be careful. All right, so I'm going to get these in, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the probe.
Okay.
The vast majority of the tape is not where it needs to be.
You can cut this or whatever.
All right, so the probe the wire is covered with the heat tape, and we're gonna, just for good measure, for security, we're gonna come back here to the back, and we're gonna put a piece of tape on the probe wire to hold it in place. So it, if the unit ever gets moved, bumped, whatever, the probe wire stays where it's at. And we're also going to do a piece here to keep it. That's your heat tape wire, the electrical wire that's actually running to the heat tape. And we want to keep it in place. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a little bit of a loop in there. And voila! Now they are secure. If they, get pulled or something like that, or God forbid something crazy happen, like the thermostat fall off, it's not going to go anywhere. Now, what was I suggesting that you use the bread tie for? Well, your thermostat is going to be sitting up on top of this unit. So we don't need to have 4 feet of cable hanging somewhere and having something fall on it, knock it off, whatever. So I'm just going to gently coil this together, because remember, you really don't want to put a kink in it. And yeah, that should be good. Just kind of eyeball it. And then I'm going to take that bread tie or twisty tie, whatever you want to call it. If you have zip ties, you could use a zip tie. And I'm just going to twist this guy up. And now it's a lot more secure. I'll do the same with the heat cable. I'm not a really big fan of actually having an electrical wire like this wrapped up like that, because it could hold heat into it. But it would probably be better to just have it like snaked around the back and taped in a couple of spots so that air can get through it. That'd probably be safer. But we are now ready to move this over to the other unit. All right, so like I said, we need to poke some ventilation holes in the tubs. Okay, these are the tubs that go into the rack. These are the medium-sized tub. Great for like a single sub-adult or what have you. All right, so I prefer to have like between 6 to 7 holes in the front of the tub. I try to avoid the corners because that gives them a place to get a finger in and climb out. And then I like to do like 3 to 4 holes on the side of the tub. So what I use to do that is just a soldering iron. But I want to give you a few safety tips at this point. Number 1, this from the orange up, and of course depending on what you get, it may be a different color, but all of this metal area up here gets extremely hot. I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually smoke coming off it now. These tubs are plastic. When you apply heat to plastic, it creates that smoke that you see, which is likely toxic. So make sure you do this in a well-ventilated area. And obviously we're outside. I've got my truck bed down and I'm doing it on the back of my truck bed. You can do it on a table, whatever you got to set it up on. You just want to make sure your skin doesn't come in contact with any of this, okay? Because it's going to burn you and it's going to hurt. Trust me, it's happened to me a couple of times. All right, so I'm just going to show you how I do it. You can see on the tip is very tapered, so it gets, you know, very pointy at the end, but this whole area heats up. So I like to actually poke it in down to this part because that kind of seals it off and you don't get those long stringy things that come off. All right, so like I said, I try to avoid like an inch or so from the corner because I don't want to give them a foothold. And I simply just set it on there and gently push, and I take it all the way down. And that's the smoke, the toxic smoke I was telling you about. And it's really simple. Just bing-a-bing, boom, Bob's your uncle, and now you have a ventilated tub. So I need to actually repeat this about 12 times, and then I'll be ready to put the tubs into the unit. But there's the smoke I was talking about. I don't know if that's showing up on camera or not, but yeah, you don't want to smell that, so don't do it inside. Do it in a well-ventilated area, because I'm sure this is probably not healthy for you. All right, so we got the heat tape in, we got the thermostat set up, and voila, it's ready to go. Now all I need to do is put my tubs in, give it a day or two for the temperature to work its way out, and we should be good to go. All right, so it looks like we're pretty much done with this build. So here's my thoughts. I obviously like the unit because I have one that I bought previously that I've been using for like 2 years. So I bought a second and a third unit. I think value-wise, probably one of the best rack units available, especially if you're into breeding, I don't know, geckos, coolibrids, something along those lines. You can get the large tubs. So if you wanted to work with a larger species, actually this is a great view. You can get the large tubs, the medium tubs, or the small tubs. So it's very versatile. It comes packaged extremely well. I can't really tell you about the directions because I didn't read them. I actually watched a video online tutorial on how to do it, but I shouldn't say I didn't read it. I at least looked at them, and the directions are pretty good. The ease of putting it together, really about the only tricky thing was getting the heat tape ran. But once you get in that groove, the heat tape goes very quickly and very easily. So I'm going to give it a definite thumbs up from the Gecko Man. And I would say, yeah, go buy you one and put it together. Let me know in the comments if you do buy one. Like I said, this is not a sponsored video. They did not send me this. I paid for these myself. They didn't even give me a discount on them. So everything's great. It's fine. I didn't ask for a discount. Didn't want one. I wanted to do an unbiased review. And I got to make sure I get my Cubs hat in there. So, it is a good unit. And down the road, I'll probably buy more of them. I really like it. So far, I set the thermostat up last night. And other than trying to figure out how to do the programming of it, which is not quite as intuitive as I would like it, then again, maybe that's just my brain. It works extremely well, and there's so much you can do with it. If you want to program in like a night drop, you can do that. It's also prorational, so it doesn't just kick the heat on when it gets below a certain temp and leave it on until it gets to that temp. It kind of fluctuates it. So it brings it up slowly to that temp, and then it'll fluctuate it throughout the day to help hold that temp, which I really like that. I think that's more energy efficient, at least in my mind it is. So, having said all that, I'm going to give it a thumbs up and say, hey, this is awesome. I really like the unit. And I'm also going to say, don't forget to look down in the description of this video, because I'm going to tag their website so you have an easier way to get to it. And I'm also going to tag a website for AB Dragon feeders. If you have any animals that you are feeding insects to, and they now have mice and rat feeders as well, they carry all your standard feeders. So mealworms, crickets, hornworms, silkworms, dubias, I mean, just about everything you can think of. Oh, and super mealworms too. You can go to their website, and where it says coupon in the checkout, just put the word Gecko Man in to get a 10% discount. So, and that's above and beyond any special they've got going on right now. Hey, I'm going to be truthful with you on that. If you do, it helps my channel out a little bit. They don't sponsor my videos, but they do give me an affiliate link. So, and when I say a little bit, I mean just a little smidge comes back to the channel so I can make more videos like this and hopefully keep you entertained. So, make sure you're kind to everybody. This week was a tough week, and I'm not going to get into politics, but it was a tough week. It's the week of September 10th, September 11th. So if you know, you know. And I'm just going to say, be kind to each other. We're not doing a very good job of that right now in the United States of America. So, let all you do be done in love. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe.